What if I told you that right now, in 2025, we might be seeing the early warning signs of the next major housing bubble burst? The patterns are eerily similar to what happened in 2008, and if you understand these 10 critical levels, you could protect your wealth or even profit from what's coming. I'm going to break down exactly how housing bubbles form and collapse, using real examples from history and recent signals from the US, Canada, Germany, the UK, Australia, and more, so you can spot the signs before it's too late. Housing bubbles don't just appear overnight and explode randomly. They follow a predictable pattern that plays out in 10 distinct levels, each one building momentum toward an inevitable crash. Understanding these levels isn't just academic knowledge. It's financial survival in today's volatile market. Whether you're a homeowner, investor, or just someone who wants to understand the economy, this knowledge could save you from financial disaster. Level 1. Demand exceeds supply. Let's start with Level 1, where it all begins. At this stage, housing demand genuinely exceeds supply. This isn't artificial yet. There are real reasons people need homes. Maybe the population is growing, jobs are being created in certain areas, or there's genuine economic expansion. Think about tech boom cities like Austin or Denver in recent years. Companies move in, create jobs, and suddenly everyone wants to live there. Supply can't keep up with legitimate demand, so prices start rising naturally. This level looks healthy on the surface. Real estate agents are happy, homeowners feel wealthy, and economists point to strong fundamentals. But here's what most people miss. This is where the foundation for disaster gets laid. When prices rise for genuine reasons, it attracts attention from people who see opportunity. And that's where things start getting dangerous. This is the most natural stage. Housing demand genuinely exceeds available supply. Examples: Austin and Denver during the tech boom. Berlin after EU job influx and rental restrictions. Toronto, where immigration surged after COVID restrictions ended. Level 2. Artificial price inflation. Level 2 is where artificial price inflation begins. Now we're moving beyond natural supply and demand. Media coverage increases, success stories spread, and a psychological shift happens. People start buying homes not just to live in them, but because they expect prices to keep rising. The narrative changes from, "I need a place to live," to "real estate always goes up." This mindset creates additional demand that isn't based on actual housing needs. During this phase, you'll hear phrases like, "Get in now before you're priced out forever," and "They're not making any more land." These aren't necessarily wrong, but they create urgency that pushes prices beyond what fundamentals would support. The dangerous part is that this artificial demand feels real to everyone involved. Sellers see multiple offers, buyers compete aggressively, and everyone assumes this is just how the market works now. Media hype begins. News headlines fuel urgency. People buy because prices are rising. You'll hear, "Buy now or be priced out forever." They're not making any more land. In Sydney and Melbourne, media-driven booms pushed prices far beyond wage growth. In Zurich, demand from overseas buyers and Swiss citizens caused a surge no longer driven by local fundamentals. At this point, psychology overtakes logic. Prices keep climbing, not because of need, but because of expectation. Level 3. Speculation takes over. Level 3 brings speculators into the picture, and this is where things get really interesting. Professional investors, house flippers, and people with access to capital start treating housing like a commodity. They're not buying to live somewhere. They're buying to make money. This creates a feedback loop where speculation drives up prices, which attracts more speculators, which drives up prices even more. You can spot this level when you start seeing investors buying properties sight unseen, cash offers becoming common, and regular families getting outbid repeatedly. The speculators have deeper pockets and move faster than typical home buyers. They also don't care as much about overpaying because they're betting on continued appreciation. This pushes prices further away from what locals can actually afford based on their incomes. Now come the flippers, hedge funds, and instant investors. In Florida, institutional investors like BlackRock outbid families. In London, foreign buyers hold empty properties as safe havens. In Munich, new condos are bought and flipped before completion. Speculators fuel price surges and push regular buyers out of the market. This level is unsustainable and always ends badly. Level 4. Credit becomes too easy. Level 4 is where the financial system joins the party with extremely loose credit conditions. Banks and lenders, seeing rising property values, become more willing to lend money. Down payment requirements drop, Income verification becomes less strict, and new loan products emerge that let people buy more house than they can really afford. The logic seems sound. If houses keep going up in value, what's the risk? This is where we see things like interest-only loans, adjustable rate mortgages with teaser rates, and programs that let people put down 3% or even 0 down. Level 5. Overvaluation becomes obvious. Level 5 reveals clear signs of overvaluation, but here's the tricky part. Most people ignore them or rationalize them away. Housing prices become disconnected from local incomes. Traditional metrics like price-to-rent ratios and price-to-income ratios hit extreme levels. In a healthy market, these ratios stay within historical ranges, but during a bubble, they can double or triple normal levels. You might see teachers, firefighters, and nurses completely priced out of communities where they work. Young adults can't afford to buy homes despite having good jobs. Rental yields for investors drop to levels that don't make financial sense. But instead of seeing these as warning signs, people create new narratives. They say things like, "This area is different," or "We're in a new paradigm." Level 6. Interest rates rise. Level 6 introduces the catalyst that typically triggers the collapse: rising interest rates. This can happen for various reasons. Maybe the central bank raises rates to fight inflation, or bond markets demand higher yields due to economic concerns. Whatever the cause, higher interest rates make borrowing more expensive, which directly impacts housing affordability. The Federal Reserve, Bank of England, and ECB raise rates to fight inflation. In Switzerland, rates go positive for the first time in decades. In Australia, monthly payments increase by 40% in under 18 months. Mortgage affordability plummets. Demand collapses. Level 7. Defaults begin. Level 7 is where the human cost becomes visible through mortgage defaults and payment difficulties. The people who stretch to buy homes with adjustable rate mortgages or minimal down payments start struggling. Maybe they lose their jobs, or their mortgage payments increase, or they realize they can't actually afford the homes they bought. Default rates begin climbing, and distressed sales appear in the market. Now come the first cracks. Borrowers who overextended, often with variable or teaser rate loans, begin to struggle. In Canada, payment deferrals surge. In UK, repossessions are up 25%. In Germany, even state-backed loans are seeing early stress. Level 8. Rapid price declines. Level 8 brings accelerated price declines that feed on themselves. As distressed properties hit the market, they sell for less than recent comparable sales. These lower prices become the new reference point for appraisals, which affects everyone trying to sell or refinance. Homeowners who aren't in financial distress suddenly find themselves underwater on their mortgages, meaning they owe more than their homes are worth. This creates a vicious cycle. Lower prices lead to more underwater homeowners, which leads to more strategic defaults from people who walk away from homes they can't sell for what they owe. Level 9. Bank foreclosures flood in. Level 9 sees banks and lenders forced to foreclose on properties they don't want to own. Financial institutions are in the business of lending money, not managing real estate portfolios. But when borrowers default in large numbers, banks have no choice but to take possession of homes and try to sell them. This floods the market with inventory right when demand is falling. In the US, REO inventory spikes. In Ireland, a post-2008 model emerges again. State-led offloading of repossessed property. In Spain, empty developments are once again auctioned off. Level 10. Broader economic collapse. Level 10 represents the final collapse where the housing crash spreads to the broader economy, often triggering a recession. The wealth effect that helped fuel economic growth during the bubble now works in reverse. Homeowners feel poorer as their biggest asset loses value, so they spend less on everything else. Construction jobs disappear, real estate agents struggle, and entire industries connected to housing suffer. Understanding these 10 levels gives you a roadmap for recognizing where we might be in the cycle today. Look around at your local market and ask yourself, which level best describes current conditions? The key is developing the discipline to act on what the data tells you, even when everyone around you believes prices will keep rising forever. History shows that housing bubbles always burst eventually, and understanding these 10 levels can help you protect your wealth and maybe even profit from the opportunities that collapse creates. So, where are we now? Look around your city. Which level are we in? Remember, every housing bubble bursts because human behavior doesn't change. The only question is, will you be ready when it does? If you found this breakdown helpful, subscribe for more videos that explain complex financial systems in clear, visual ways.